This is the last week of me chronicling my 2023 art fight endeavors. What a journey! So much cool art, so many cool artists, and I hope you don't mind sticking around for just 3 more pieces of art fight art this year and unexpected bonus content. Believe it or not, in these last 3 days I did actually receive even more art, so stay tuned to the end for that. The third to last painting I made for the last bit of art fight was actually a 2-character piece for Yearning in Blue as a revenge for a Merilith and Ezra drawing that they made for me. These characters are part of an ongoing world-building endeavor between Yearning in Blue and his friends Vivelgalite and Existing on Another Plane, which Blue specifically asked me to mention them as he didn't want to take all the credit for the character and story creation, and that's so kind of him. The 2 characters appearing before you are Maurice, who is also known as Reese, sitting on the dock, and Benjamin or Benji, who is sitting in a floaty donut that I'm sure has a technical name, but I can't think of it, and I'm not going to use Google to help me because I think floaty donut is a better name for it anyways. Reese and Benji are part of a much larger friend group that Yearning in Blue and friends are still working on. However, even with only 2 characters being displayed on this art fight, they actually have 4 characters that are pretty much completely fleshed out. Reese is the instigator of the friend group. He tries to be the chill, relaxed friend, but in reality he's a little bit type A. His parents have particular expectations of him and he has his own expectations of himself. So he has learned multiple instruments, is trying to become a camp counselor, and because of his personality, he has a tendency to take on leadership roles despite not admitting to being a good leader. Yearning in Blue describes Benji as a gentle giant. The character loves film and photography, though to be honest, he'll try just about any hobby that he can get his hands on. They're very interested in the idea of storytelling, which is foundational for the formation of the friend group. Not pictured here are Jean and Morgan, 2 others in the continually expanding friend group. Both are creative and add majorly to the story that the friend group decides they want to film. Jean likes sewing and also has a knack for first aid, and she ends up sewing costumes for a short film project that brings the group together. Morgan is athletic and also deeply interested in science and science fiction, which directs the short film project into becoming a movie about aliens. Now, this is only part of the friend group. I believe there are more characters being added. Yearning in Blue said maybe a group of 7, but for now, the kids are just having fun making an alien film. Later down the line, some awfully familiar alien activity begins popping up in their real lives. Because the whole theme of Yearning in Blue's story is camp, I immediately wanted to draw them in the style of the Monster Prom game. I really love the very round shapes and the clean art style of the Monster Prom games in general, plus the game really appeals to why I loved the concept of Monster High as a kid, and I say concept because I wasn't actually allowed to consume any Monster High content growing up, but that aside, just having a bunch of themed monsters navigate a human experience with all their monstrous quirks just scratches an itch in my brain that I've had since I was a very small lady splitchin. That being said, I do think I made some mistakes when it came to trying to imitate that art style. I think the darker tones in the Monster Prom color palette sort of swayed me, and while the colors I have here are very vibrant, they're also on the darker and also somehow greener side of things. I'm not as pleased with that, unfortunately, and my other mistake I think was kind of mixing the styles. I mixed my painty style for the coloring aspect with clean line art, which isn't something I do super often, and I don't love the result. That being said, I am super happy that I got to finally do some line art for Art Fight because that's always something that I forget I can actually do. I'm really happy with a lot of the shapes, the cleanliness of the light art, and I'm grateful that drawing these characters allowed me to try something out of my comfort zone and in a new style. So even if it's maybe not what I had hoped it would be, because I'm comparing myself to the very talented artist Arthur Tien, I had a lot of fun with the piece and also learned a lot. Fun fact with Maurice, who is in orange, he actually wears glasses and has a scar on his nose, which I completely forget for the speed draw. I do go back and add those in post, so you can see them that way on Art Fight, or you can see it in the final reveal, but you won't see it in the speed draw portion. Maurice actually also has several distinctive moles, which should be visible in this drawing, but are not because I'm unfortunately much worse at the attention to detail thing, and even more much worse at remembering things, and I'm very sorry for that. What I did do was give Maurice a beaded necklace, which was not in the original drawing. Yearning in Blue made a note that each individual in the friend group is associated with a distinct color. If you can't already tell, Reese is orange and Benji is purple. I feel like either Reese or someone in the group would have made either bracelets or necklaces or keychains with different beads, each with the colors representing each of the friends. And Benji isn't wearing one because he's in the water and didn't want to lose his. And definitely not because I forgot about it, because I am not a forgetful person at all, ever. But that is this little camp group for Yearning in Blue. If you're interested in keeping up with Yearning in Blue's work or saving some of these characters for next year, I highly recommend checking out the links in the description. Thank you again, Blue, for letting me share you and your friends as characters, and best of luck with the rest of your story building. Second to last art fight attack of the entire year, but more accurately, my last friendly fire. This one I got very carried away with. I actually bookmarked IronDuck's character Lighthouse quite a while ago. I don't think it was before art fight started, but I do think it was relatively early in the month. Lighthouse caught my eye because they are a porcelain warforged with kintsugi traits, which I'm so obsessed with. But then I went down the rabbit hole that is Lighthouse's story, and I found out that Lighthouse has a daughter named Ellie, possibly Eli. I think it's Ellie. And Lighthouse found Ellie in an abandoned boat at sea, and I had a very strong vision in my head of those very romantic, soft paintings where they have the parent holding a baby in a soft, warm sunlight, like in the meadows or a warmly lit room. And well, you can see I really begin getting carried away. Yeah, so anyways, I started painting, and I know I've said it like the last 3 videos, but I'm so very thrilled that I'm putting out pieces like this and only working just under 3 hours on any of them. If any painting this art fight has really convinced me that I have grown as an artist, I think it was definitely this one. But you all know the real reason why I picked Lighthouse to draw. That's right, it's because they have no hair. Actually, Lighthouse as a whole is a very interesting character. In their backstory, they started out as being built to spy and assassinate under a completely different identity. However, they were caught by the enemy, beat, and then locked in a box that was thrown into the ocean. Much time later, the Warforged was found near a lighthouse by a band of pirates, and the Warforged gave no indication of having any memory at all, but still proved to be an incredibly valuable asset to the pirate crew. The Warforged, who they ended up naming Lighthouse Beacon, became a permanent part of the crew, and eventually, living long past the original band of pirates, became captain of the ship. Now for the little elven girl on Lighthouse's lap, that's Ellie, or Eli, who, as previously mentioned, was found at sea. She's often called Little Treasure and is much beloved not just by Lighthouse but also the rest of the pirate ship crew, who bring her along on their many adventures and take turns taking care of her. And back to the drawing, I don't know if you really got a chance to see it because this is sped up quite a bit, but I actually really struggled with drawing the neck of this character. I'm used to drawing metal warforged characters, and I have a tendency to fill the neck area or other bendy areas with lots of little layers, indicating little pieces or wires that are joined together to allow movement. However, Lighthouse is built like a ball-jointed doll. There's not really stretching components that are visible, and apparently having movable components about the neck is incredibly important to me and my ability to function as an artist. Because of everything in this entire painting, getting the joint between the neck peg and the head to look correct to me at this particular angle took a really long time. And that being the most difficult part of the painting is honestly saying something, because if you think about it, there are water features, there are unusual light sources, there's landscape, and there's a child in this painting. To have the most difficult part be the way the head is looking is really just a huge testament to how much I enjoyed this drawing. Okay, enough gushing over my own art. I feel incredibly guilty about being so prideful because I have a really bad internal reward and regulation system, so let's talk about techniques. I used a lot of references of both the beach and of paintings of the beach because I really did have a very specific vision in mind when working on the background of this painting. And you can see as I add the yellow and pinkish clouds, it makes a huge difference. I don't think I would have achieved that as nicely without a reference. Another thing that I don't usually do is that I branched out of my usual collection of 3 or 4 brushes, and I used a weird hatching brush to work on the rocks in the background. I do think it might be part of a collection of brushes that I downloaded for Krita years ago, but unfortunately I can't seem to figure out where it came from if it's not part of the standard library. I also do something else that I haven't done in my art for what feels like forever, some good old color dodge. And to be honest, I think I avoid color dodge so much because I have a high expectation for how it should look and it never looks how I want to. But you know what? I'll admit it this time. It's good. It looks pretty nice. And here's Lighthouse and her daughter enjoying a new sunrise. Thank you so much, IronDuck, for such a cool character, such unique art opportunity that I had no idea I would become so deeply invested in. I really love your characters. I hope they have a good, long, and happy life full of many adventures. And for the second to last time this year, please check out the links in the description for IronDuck's ARTFIGHT page and also their other art accounts. And now, for my last attack of ARTFIGHT 2023, of course, I picked somebody's D&D character. We have here Sage Ikor, galxcticanna's Fire Genasi wizard. Anna mentioned that Sage is part of a shorter campaign, so he hasn't had too much story to tell, but what I do know of this guy is that he prefers evocation and illusion spells with his wizarding abilities, and that even though he is a Fire Genasi with innate fire-related abilities, he much prefers to pick up ice and frost-related spells in his journey, which I think is a really cool concept and also very relatable to a slightly younger version of me who lamented that I was born with a tendency toward creativity and art and not being a genius mathematician or a physicist. But again, let's not get too carried away with the sentiment or self-reflection for my last work of ARTFIGHT this year. I just wanted to draw something that made me happy, something colorful, and something much more in my comfort zone. And Anna's character really did check off all those boxes. While the color scheme was still pretty out of my comfort zone, having a fantasy character wearing poofy pants doing just a standing pose is kind of my crutch when it comes to designing fantasy characters, which means I'm using all my usual techniques, the usual brushes that I'm very used to using, and very few layers in the drawing. If you notice, for specifically Alio from last week's drawing and Sage from this week's drawing, I opted not to make backgrounds for them. I always like to have a transparent background version of D&D characters just because I feel like it's nice for electronic tokens, things like that. But maybe that's just me. This drawing was done with the intention of having no background, but I do eventually put in a dark layer of gray-blue to just help me get my color contrast better, and also to make sure I don't have any stray construction lines or light-colored lines hidden anywhere else on the page, because that is a serious problem that I have with a lot of my characters that I have saved as PNGs after the fact, namely Ezra. And now that I've pointed this little thingy out to you, you will either feel relief that I have finally realized that it's there, or you will never be able to unsee it, and now you hate me and our friendship will never be the same again. Speaking of things that are not the same, I do take a few creative liberties in Sage's outfit. For the most part, it remains relatively similar to the reference drawing, but there are a few details that are different, some just for fun and some for the ease of drawing. The one modification specifically made for my personal convenience was turning Sage's book holster into a book bag. In Anna's original drawing, Sage has straps around his spellbook, but because in my drawing the spellbook is levitating over his left hand, that would have left the straps that are unfortunately on the hip that is facing towards us completely empty, which means I would have to figure out leather physics, and I simply did not want to, so we have the book bag instead. I also added a lot of little brassy buckles to the outfit, not only for the belt bags, but also on his boots, which in general, I don't usually enjoy drawing shoes very much, but I think because I ended up drawing the little strap details, I didn't mind it so much this time. But absolutely not, I'm not solving my dislike of drawing shoes by making increasingly complicated to render shoes. Absolutely not. Besides the seams on the pants, which come in way later down the line, and I don't think hardly counts as a deviation from the original drawing, for the spellbook, I add a little blue foil and scrolling onto the binding and covers. In the reference drawing of Sage, the spellbook was placed on the hip facing away from the viewer, so I wasn't able to see the cover or any details regarding the spellbook, which I'm not shaming anyone for because I know for sure that I do the exact same thing with my art, and you would think for someone who participates in ARTFIGHT and also laments constantly the lack of good references for certain characters that I want to cosplay, I would be much more aware about making sure that every aspect of a character is visible and easily readable, but no! Why would I do that? Why would I ever tell anyone what the tattoos on the back of Ezra's leg looks like? That makes no sense. Also with this drawing, we are at 16 total drawings for ARTFIGHT this year, which is a pretty nice number to land on and also kind of a crazy number of drawings. I mean, even to maintain my normal drawing schedule usual for my channel. I usually only end up drawing about 5 or 6 drawings a month, and 5 drawings is exactly what I ended up making for ARTFIGHT last year. But pushing myself like this always makes me really happy. It always reminds me how much I'm actually capable of doing. And with galxcticanna's drawing complete, thus closes the curtain on ARTFIGHT 2023, Vampires vs. Werewolves. And for the last time for ARTFIGHT this year, check out the links for galxcticanna in the description. Bookmark some of the characters for next year because July is now over and it is now August. ARTFIGHT is officially over. The winner of Vampires vs. Werewolves, I believe I read somewhere it's going to be announced on August 12th. I'm not positive of that date, so don't quote me on that, but whatever the date is, that means unfortunately I won't be relaying the winner in the closing video like I wanted to do, but let me tell you, I have a very strong hunch as to which team won. It has been an incredible season for attacks, but let me tell you, it has also been a crazy year for attacks that I've received. Against all odds, I have in fact received 2 more attacks before the end of the season. The first was a revenge returned by IronDuck for the Lighthouse drawing. I was so surprised that they managed to finish something so beautiful and so quickly. Look at her, so elegantly on the couch, and the excellent color choices as well. I love everything about this. Thank you so much, IronDuck. And also, IronDuck actually has an incredible lineup of stats. They drew a total of 220 characters this year and have a perfect track record of completing revenges. So yeah, definitely check their art out. It's a lot, and also a lot of good stuff. The second art piece I received ruined my perfect streak of attacking everyone back in time for the end of ARTFIGHT, but I'm not even mad. Look at this. This was drawn by AnimezingAZN, who drew Rain, my life cleric, with Kongji, their death cleric, defending a horde of dragon eggs. I am thoroughly obsessed with this duo, also the colors in this art piece, and look at these characters. They are so beautiful. I am so in love. And nobody has drawn Rain this year, so I was really excited to get some Rain art in. What a fantastic month. It is now time to relax. Nope, just kidding. There is no relaxing in the house of Lady Splitchin, only chaos and crying. I have the next 3 months absolutely booked for projects, events, but I did want to just take a moment and really look at all the cool characters and scenes that I was able to draw this month. ARTFIGHT is such an incredible opportunity for artists of all skill levels. Honestly, probably one of my favorite ways to learn about other people's original characters, and definitely 100% probably my favorite way to connect with a ton of other artists, and also probably the easiest way for me to connect with all of you, besides directly talking to you in the comments. But still, I feel like drawing someone else's character and learning about the character's backstory is like a little window into artists' thoughts, and I mean that in a very positive and not creepy way. But yeah, if you haven't participated in ARTFIGHT before, or if you're kind of on the fence, I highly recommend it. Really fun. Had a great time this year, and I hope to see some new people next year. Anyways, I have a lot planned for this upcoming 2 months. We have Ren Fair season coming up, a couple of projects that I worked on in the early weeks of July that I've been super excited to share with you all, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to all of it. For me, as the quote goes, failure is not an option, so wish me a lot of luck that everything goes very much as planned, and I think it all will, but you know what? Who knows? Not me.